What's going on, dreamers? My name's Acer, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you 6 quality of life beginner animation tips. Tip number 1, always pin the timeline that you're working with. So let's say I'm doing this animation. It would be really annoying to select this keyframe, go over here, animate my character, go back, select the other keyframe. It's really, just don't do that. Pin the timeline. Even if you have the timeline here, you still want to pin it, because like what if you like want to animate from the back? Then you have to like move your camera all the way back around, and it's just really annoying. So to pin it, you want to press pin to screen and then just move it out of the way, and you can also make it smaller if you need to. So now when we're animating, it is on our screen regardless of the camera orientation, so we can easily access it whenever we need it. Tip number 2, if you are working with a lot of keyframes really close together, a great way to make the timeline easier to work with, or rather the animation easier to work with, is to zoom. You can see the tooltip to the left of my imp. Hover your imp over the timeline, hold L1, and then press right D-pad. It will basically stretch the timeline out. This is not zooming in like this. This isn't scaling it. This is something else. We're stretching it. We're stretching it. So I would highly recommend stretching the timeline, especially if, again, you have keyframes really close together. Tip number 3, along with being able to change the blend curve, and that's done by holding L1 and then pressing X while hovering the curve, you can actually scale the strength of the curve by hovering over and pressing up or down D-pad. So you'll notice you can actually change the curve strength. Tip number 4, there's actually a way to cycle through keyframes. You don't actually have to select each one by one to animate them. So for example, we're on this first keyframe right here. Instead of having to manually click the next one, you can actually hold L1 and then use the right or left D-pad to cycle through the keyframes on that row. Like this. This is really handy for a ton of different uses, especially when you're going one by one through the keyframes. Tip number 5, it's a two-parter. If you didn't know, there are actually 2 types of animating. There's inverse kinematics and forward kinematics. Inverse kinematics is what I like to call positional animation, where basically you hold R2, change the position of it, and that's the animation. It's moving the part with R2. Forward kinematics, on the other hand, is basically, I like to call it rotation animation, or rotating animation. And that's where you hold L2, then use the joysticks. With this animation type, you're basically rotating the limb, and all the children, limbs, joints, whatever, move with it. That was the first part of the tip. The second part of the tip is you can actually tell the difference, like which animation type it is, based on the direction of the hashing. So as you see, the pelvis has bottom left to upper right hashing. And that is the inverse kinematics, or the positional animation. The rotational animation has bottom right to upper left hashing. So this is a really nice way to tell which animation type it is without having to like experiment on it. And finally, tip number 6. Now, there are many ways to increase the speed of a timeline. The easiest way is to increase the playback speed, but that's capped at 200%. There are also many ways to increase the speed of a timeline past 200%. In my opinion, though, the easiest one is to nest timelines. So what you can do is just take another timeline, put the timeline you want to go past 200% in to the new timeline, match the sizes up appropriately, and now take the new timeline and put it to 200%. Or however fast you want. This will bypass the 200% limit. You can do this more than once. So you can nest and nest again. There are other ways to do this, but this is by far the easiest. If any of these tips helped you, and or if you like this type of video, please let me know in the comments and by liking the video. If you want more of these type of videos, again, let me know. I'd love to make them. I have so many more tips on animation, logic. Probably not as many tips on sculpting since that's not really what I do very much. But anyway, if you need more Dreams help or more tips, or you just like watching Dreams, I stream Dreams on Twitch every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. If I'm not streaming on Twitch, I also have a Discord and a Twitter. Anyway, guys, I really hope this video helped. Have a great rest of your day, and maybe I'll see you later.
I just wanna be with you. I just wanna be